Hello everyone! Welcome back to the channel! Tonight is a very, very exciting night because we got a Nintendo Direct tomorrow! Let's go! So I figured I would, kind of talk about what's going on. I know I don't normally stream Nintendo stuff at the moment. I've actually put in my description for my channel, hey, we're doing Minecraft streams at the moment, but that's going to change soon. I'm going to kind of, say I'm doing variety streams, but still, I want to talk about Nintendo. So, I figured I would do this, and I didn't know what to stream, so, Minecraft is kind of a good option. I can just kind of do some shenanigans in it, and so, yeah, let's kind of get started on the conversation, right? So, obviously, past Pikmin 4, and, what's it called? Everybody 1-2 Switch. We don't know anything about what Nintendo's doing this year. I mean, we know there's going to be Mario Kart DLC, Pokemon DLC, Mario plus Rabbids DLC, Splatoon DLC, I think. I'm not sure if they've actually confirmed that's this year or not. I could be wrong. I don't really keep up with it. But, yeah, aside from a bunch of undated DLC and 2 games, one of which is going to sell poorly and the other of which is going to review poorly, we know nothing. So there's a lot of room open to speculate and make guesses and stuff. And so I'm going to start off saying my biggest guess, the one I think is like all but confirmed, is Mario plus Sonic at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. If you remember correctly, Tokyo 2020 came out in September 2019, and we're probably not going to get another Direct until September, so now's kind of the only time to really announce the game, because I highly doubt Nintendo would actually, like, shadow drop it. I highly doubt Sega would want Nintendo to shadow drop it, so I think that's going to, like, be a lock. Obviously, Mario Kart DLC is a lock. That's probably going to come out by the end of the month, to be honest. As for what it'll be, who knows? LA Laps probably, Athens Dash, just that kind of stuff. But, yeah, we don't, for the most part, we don't know what's going on. So, I don't know what I'm doing in the game right now. So that's gonna be fun to see what they do with that. As for other Mario stuff, there's this big rumor, big rumor, that there's gonna be a 2D Mario and a SNES remake. Now, 2D Mario, we haven't had one of those in over a decade. We're getting close to the point where it's like the same time between Mario Land 2 or Mario World, whichever was more recent, and New Super Mario Bros. DS. So we're almost at that reset period again, if not already past it. And according to the leaker, the most prominent leaker who spoke about this, we are getting one that isn't a New Super Mario Bros. Game, which, I'm gonna be honest, I have mixed feelings about it, because I like the New Super Mario Bros. Games, so personally, if they stuck to their status quo with that, I would be fine. But I know a lot of people wouldn't be, so... And I think Nintendo kind of realizes this too, especially after, the Wii U launched, specifically with the New Super Mario Bros. Game, and, it did poorly, like, no other way to put it. The Wii U did poorly, and it's partially because nobody cared about New Super Mario Bros. Anymore. Like, we'd just gotten one a year prior, and it was pretty similar in terms of, like, vibes and stuff to the 2 before that. So, I think they kind of realized, hey, people don't want this anymore, let's kind of try to reinvent 2D Mario, and while we're doing that, let's give the fans a way to make their own 2D Mario levels, and so we got Mario Maker. And, that's probably a good plan on Nintendo's part. Them realizing that, I think a lot of people are going to be a lot happier if we get a new type of 2D Mario instead of another new Super Mario Bros. Game. Personally, I would like a new Super Mario Bros. Game. But if they do something cool with this, that would also be neat. I want the certainty it's gonna be good. Because, like, it's Nintendo. It's probably gonna be good. But there's always that chance, you know? Like, sometimes they just have the dumbest design decisions, like, ever, for no reason. Like, think about it. Think about Paper Mario Sticker Star. What the hell was that game? So, you know, they're not always, like, batting 1,000, right? Like, so it makes sense to be worried if they're going with something new and you like the old. That's what it is. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't even, like, a little bit interested in seeing what they plan to do. Like, I think they could totally come up with something super cool if with a new type of 2D Mario. Would it be kind of Metroidvania style? Would it be level-based still? What would they do, right? Like, that's my question. What would Nintendo do with the with a new 2D Mario kind of style? Because we have no clue what that could look like for Nintendo, right? Like, it doesn't... They've not really done that different of a style. Even though New Super Mario Bros. Was considered stale, like, and, like, other games aren't in the series, New Super Mario Bros. Really was an emulation of the old games in a lot of aspects. So, like, I really do think that if Nintendo wants to recapture consumer interest, they're going to have to stray from the level-based approach at least somewhat. How much? Who knows? They could... For all I know, they're just going to release another 2D Mario. Not New Super Mario Bros., different gameplay, but it's going to be the same thing again. And that's totally fine. You know, if the gameplay's good, if the levels are good, that's cool. I don't care as long as, like, a few things are met for me. The art style doesn't make it harder for me to know what the fuck is going on. And then, obviously it has to have fun gameplay, which, you know, let's face it, it probably will. And then, yeah, I don't want it to be stupid easy, you know? If it flows well, the easy thing isn't really as much of a concern for me. But, again, like, just having some difficulty in general is nice. Like, even if it's just, like, World 8 and World 9 are hard. That's cool. So, you know, if they put out something new for that, that'd be cool. But the rest of the rumor, SNES Remake, there's a lot of stuff coming out last day or so about a Super Mario RPG remaster, which, that has me excited, because I'd love to see how they fix up the original with all their experience all these years later and all the changes in the industry. Because my issue with that game, personally, was a lot of, like, the platforming and just feedback and stuff in the game did not feel that good to me. And I know I'm on the minority of that. It's a great game, it's beloved by a lot of people, but it just... some of it did not really hit with me. So I'm hoping an HD 2D remake would fix a lot of those issues. Obviously, it's going to look gorgeous if it is HD 2D, because, God, that style is so good, and Square's nailed it so much. Ooh, I'm out. Okay. But, yeah, if it's not HD 2D, and it's just like a typical Mario style, that could also go pretty well. But this is all assuming that the SMRPG is the remade SNES game that is rumored. So we're relying on 2 layers of rumors. So let's not think of it as fact or anything. That's jumping the gun a little bit. But yeah, I think that Super Mario RPG remake would go hard. If it's not Super Mario RPG, that pretty much rules out HD 2D anything, because that's Square's kind of thing. I don't know if it's patented, so maybe other companies could do it. I don't think they'd want to really do that. They'd want to do their own thing. They might. But it'd be interesting to see just kind of what goes on and, like, how this supposed SNES game is remade. There's been things said about Chrono Trigger and Earthbound, but I think that's mainly just people hoping those games get remade and not actual leaks or rumors. So, you know, it's probably not either of those. Though, honestly, Earthbound, maybe not Earthbound, but Chrono Trigger I could definitely see being a thing. Alternatively, that could be the DK game for Switch. A trilogy remake bundle. I think Nintendo totally could and totally would go for marketing that as the Switch's big Donkey Kong game. Would I be happy about that? Absolutely not. Oh, look, the old DKC games are pretty good. I have a few qualms with them. And, like, but I think those would be fixed in a remake. But, at the same time, it's been almost a decade since the last Donkey Kong game, man. Like, give us a new one! Like, I was in elementary school when the last DKC game came out. That's insane! And that's not including, like, the port. The port's a different story, depressingly. But even then, like, I was a freshman in high school when that happened. And I'm entering my 3rd year of college now, so... Oh my gosh, diamonds. So, like, come on. Give us a new Donkey Kong game. Don't just remake the old ones. You know people want it. You've got the brand recognition from the movie. You've got the fan support. You've got the talent at Retro. And even just in Nintendo EPD, they could totally, like, knock out a killer Donkey Kong game. So why not, Nintendo? Please! It's killing me. I want a new DK. But yeah, so I don't think DK would be the SNES remake, but I could totally be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, because I don't know if we'd get a DKC game or a new DK game in general anytime soon. If that was the case, so, you know, we'll see what happens with that. As for other Mario spin-offs, assuming these rumors are true, we're not getting any more Mario games, because that's already 4 Mario games. 4? 3? No, 3 Mario games and a DLC. A couple DLCs. Because that would be 2D Mario, Super Mario RPG, Mario and Sonic. 3 Mario games in 6 months would be absolutely bonkers. I would be very happy. But then, like, people who don't care about Mario would be very upset at the Direct, which is, you know, people are going to be upset at the Direct either way, so that probably doesn't matter. But, yeah. I don't think Nintendo's going to do that. They totally could. The cards could totally align, but anything they don't release this year is also going to get crammed into a lot of Mario games that are basically slated to release next year. Because if you take a look at, like, design patterns for Mario games, in, like, the last decade or so, Mario Party and Paper Mario are going to be releasing next year. Because Mario Party gets a release every 3 years, and the last time we got one of those was in 2021. And Paper Mario gets one every 4 years, and last time we got one of those was in 2020. Now, obviously, COVID could have impacted Paper Mario, because, like, the new one would have been just entering the design phase when COVID kind of went full force. It would have been mostly already going in Japan, but you know, for Origami King, it would have been in, like, post-production phase kind of stuff, like, by the time that hit, so it wouldn't have affected that game. It would more just affect, you know, whatever the next one is, with a little bit of difficulty starting the design process, but I don't know how much that's really going to affect it, because that seems like it'd be probably the easiest process to do, you know, online. And I could be totally wrong, because I don't have any experience developing a game remotely. So, who knows? But, it still could be in a thing. And same goes for Mario Party, but at the same time, they did get Mario Party Superstars out on their 3-year cycle. They were adjusted to COVID at the time, so that's probably not the case there. Granted, what if they scoped down Mario Party Superstars? Like, less boards and characters and stuff because COVID hit? I think that could totally be how they kind of adjusted for like those delays. So, but we'll just have to see on that. As for other things, non-Mario, Zelda, you know, Zelda could get an announcement for something. Tears of the Kingdom just came out, so probably not. But, you know, let's speculate. So, the Zelda team, or Nintendo in general, just tries to get out a new Zelda title every year, right? Ooh, more diamonds. So, obviously, they didn't have one in 2022 because they were expecting Tears of the Kingdom to be their 2022 Zelda game. Which means they probably had something lined up for 2023. But that might get pushed back because of Tears of the Kingdom's delay. And if that is the case, I can totally see them maybe doubling up next year and releasing releasing two Zelda games, like a remake and a port. So they could do like Wind Waker HD or Twilight Princess HD, and then like maybe Ocarina of Time remake. We're getting close to the time where it would be about the same time between Ocarina of Time and Oot 3D. So that's totally on the cards, in my opinion. Do I think it's going to happen? I think they're going to save that for next gen. But next gen could be next year, so who knows? Oh, hello. But as for Wind Waker HD being ported to Switch, I think that's going to be like a lock for Switch. I think that would be a huge mistake for Nintendo not to do, and I think they know it too, because like Wind Waker HD is seen by everyone who has like played it as like the definitive way to play Wind Waker, but it still didn't get enough people to, you know, buy a Wii U because just nobody cared, you know. But there's tons of demand for it. And they've still been keen on doing a few Wii U ports, but they've been, you know, fewer and further in between, but with more content. So we could get something really cool for a Wind Waker port, I think. And I think Nintendo would knows that they could totally capitalize on that and make bank with that. Especially since Zelda's popularity has skyrocketed since Breath of the Wild. So any Zelda game they release right now on their system is going to sell pretty well because people have not had a chance to play Wind Waker HD. People have not had a chance, or even just Wind Waker. People have not had a chance to play Twilight Princess. Well, you know, aside from less ethical methods, but you know, the average consumer doesn't really do that. So Nintendo knows that there's an audience there of a bunch of people who just got into Zelda and would be like, whoa, Zelda Wind Waker, it's all like at sea and stuff? That's super cool. And they could and should totally re-release Wind Waker in that regard. Same goes for Twilight Princess. Not so much for Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask because that's available through NSO. So people have had a lot more opportunity to play that if they never played like the 3DS or the original versions of the game. They totally still could and, you know, would still make a lot of money from it. But I don't think it's going to be as much of a priority, especially because they can't just do a simple port job because the remake was a 3DS title. They'd have to, you know, give it a whole new set of paint. And at that point, why not just kind of do a full remake, you know? But as for other things for Zelda, you know, we could get like a Warriors game announced, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So Koei Tecmo released Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, disgusting game, last year. So they've kind of got, you know, a fresh slate. You know, they've got not a lot of time to work on stuff between now and then, so probably not. If the Zelda team helps them, maybe, you know, maybe they were working on, like, you know, the mechanics and stuff while they finished up 3 Hopes. But yeah, no, I don't think it's happening. They're pretty consistent about like every 2 years, anyways, with the Warriors games. Like, yeah, we got 2022 was Fire Emblem, 2020 was Zelda, 2018 was Zelda Remaster, or port, I should say. 2017 was the exception, and that was Fire Emblem, and it was 2014 for Hyrule Warriors initially. And they probably have other Warriors games aside from that I'm just not, remembering. But the general gist is it's like every other year. So probably not till next year, which if it's early next year, it could be announced in this Direct as like a one last thing. But they're mostly going to be sticking to this year's release schedule. So I wouldn't expect to see anything like that. But the only other thing I could see from Zelda at this point, aside from everything we've mentioned, is maybe they hand Zelda off to another indie company. They handed it off to Brace Yourself Games for the Cadence of Hyrule game, which was super cool. Super glad they did that. I want to see them do that more, and I think they know that a lot of other people want to see that, because, well, it obviously didn't sell the best because it's an indie game. It still sold, pretty fairly, I think. So, it'd be interesting to see what they do for another one of those collaborations. And maybe it's not Zelda, maybe it's something else that happens. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I don't think there'd be anything else for Zelda. You could argue Tears of the Kingdom DLC. I think it's just too soon for that because, like, the game just came out a month ago. And you could say, oh, hello. You could say that, oh yeah, but like they were polishing the whole last year, so, they probably could have been working on design. And, maybe that's right. Maybe that is right. And if that is right, I just said is right a lot, then that means, they totally could have, like, the first part out by the end of the year. But if you look at Breath of the Wild at the very least, they probably spent a lot of time polishing that game up, It was supposed to release in 2015, didn't release until 2017, so, and that DLC did not get announced until 9 months later, much less released, So, and then they've been doing a lot more with their DLC in recent years, so I would expect to maybe even have a longer development cycle for the DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, if they are doing Tears of the Kingdom DLC, which, they totally should. It would sell like hotcakes, and it would make no sense if they didn't. But, yeah. So, I don't think it's happening, this Direct. Maybe it gets announced in September. Maybe it's at the Game Awards again. Maybe it's not announced until the February Direct, if it even exists. But I don't think it's happening now. And I'd love to be proven wrong on that. As for other IPs, let's take a look at Kirby. Kirby hasn't gotten a game this year, aside from... Actually, no. Kirby got his remaster. They could announce another Kirby game, though. Hal's been pretty fluently pumping Kirby out. Like, he's almost been as frequent as Mario, if not more so, on Switch, which is impressive. So, some sort of, like, remaster or remake for Kirby, or even some side game, totally makes sense. What if the SNES remaster is Kirby Dream Course? It's not going to happen. I think that'd be funny, but it's not going to happen. Yeah, so I don't really know a whole lot about Kirby, so I'm not going to really talk about him much more. But there totally could be something just because of how frequently Hal has been doing Kirby content on Switch. In fact, Kirby's probably, aside from maybe Pokemon because it has the dual release thing, has had the most releases on Switch. Well, aside from maybe Mario as well. I'd have to look into that. But yeah, so Kirby's totally possible. Fire Emblem, we got that leak a couple years ago that said new Warriors game, Engage screenshots were shown, and then Fire Emblem 4 remake. That would be cool. I would like to see that. How's it going, Cocoberry Sutpid? Welcome to the stream. But, yeah, so if that Fire Emblem 4 remake is real, I do think it could totally come out at this point, especially because of, like, the internal name thing going on with Fire Emblem right now. For those of you who don't know, internally the Fire Emblem games are named Iron, and then... My window's like that. and then like a number for which number game that is. 3 houses is like 17, and then engage is 19. And there's no 18, which means there's another Fire Emblem game ready to go at like any point, or just cancel, you know? So I think we totally could see that any day now. Again, I would personally be very excited for a Fire Emblem 4 remake, because I have not played that game. I have not cared to go get an English patch of that game. What are you trying to do in Minecraft right now? So this is the very start of a library I'm building. Obviously this is just scaffolding, but for broke people. And I've kind of got the layout set up here. This is going to be where all the books and stuff go, and then like this kind of pattern here is going to be where the librarian trading hall is going to go. So I need to get on villagers eventually. But right now I'm just kind of hopping around talking about Nintendo. So, you know, it is what it is. But back to Nintendo stuff. Xenoblade could get something. The DLC just finished releasing, so odds are not looking high. But they could do like a port of Xenoblade X. A lot of people would go crazy for that. I think a lot of people would really like that. I don't care. I don't care about Xenoblade at all. So that's kind of all I'm going to say about that. But for Xenoblade fans, I think there definitely is a chance of something. Let's talk Metroid now. So Metroid Prime 4 is totally happening this year, I think. I think it's like all but confirmed. Like they've had, you know, interest stuff being put up on the internet, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then Prime Remastered released earlier this year. Shadow dropped even, which is very weird. So they're definitely trying to draw up interest in Metroid again with Prime Remastered and Dread and, you know, all that stuff. And if leaks are accurate, we're getting 2 and 3 remastered, but not quite to the same degree throughout the rest of the year. So if they do it like Prime Remastered, we could get those Shadow dropped. Like, we could get Prime 2 Remastered, Shadow dropped at the Direct tomorrow, and we could get Prime 3 Remastered, Shadow dropped in September. So it's very possible we get those. But yeah, I think Prime 4 is happening by the end of the year. Unless they have some other game they're going to pull out of their pocket as like their big holiday title. Which they totally could. We've mentioned a couple possibilities. Is this hardcore? Absolutely not. So my thing is, I used hardcore to get good at the game. But then I kind of just wanted to mellow out after getting good. And so I'm just kind of vibing now. I just kind of like play for fun. Build stuff, all that kind of stuff. I don't really care for hardcore because it's just too stressful. But for people who like it, it's cool. But back to Nintendo stuff. Metroid. So yeah, I think there's a good chance for a lot of Metroid Prime this year. We could also get, you know, new Metroid game announced for NSO release. Like I think it's Zero Mission hasn't come out on NSO yet. So that could totally happen. But that's about it for Metroid, which, you know, granted is a lot for the series. It's been having like almost a mini renaissance of content in the last couple years. So Metroid fans are eating pretty good. As for other stuff, they could do Wario. Wario would be, you know, pretty cool. I would like to see another Wario Land game. WarioWare is definitely not happening because we just got one of those 2 years ago. But Wario Land would be very exciting because we haven't had one of those since literally like the Wii. Wario Land Shake It, or the Shake Dimension if you're in Europe. Which, you know, it was a really popular game and still one of the lowest rated ones of the Wario Land series, I think. I could be mistaken on that. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but that's just kind of what I remember. But yeah, so we could totally see something Wario Land. Are we? Maybe not. It could be an indie collab with WayForward. That's been something a lot of people have mentioned. Cadence of Hyrule really opened up a lot of possibilities, I think. And I think we're about to start seeing like the effects of that. So here's hoping for WarioWare to get something. Not Wario, Wario Land. Wow. Other things for Wario is we could get Wario World remaster. Probably not, but it would be cool. I would like to see it because I've never had the chance to play it, and it currently costs like $1 million on Amazon. And I don't like to emulate games for my first playthrough because like if it crashes and stuff like that, that just ruins the experience. So I try to avoid that. But it could happen technically. We could also get F-Zero. F-Zero could get like a remaster or maybe even a new game. Nintendo's very much aware that people want it, but they've said that they don't know what to do with it. Which is fair because, you know, after the jump to 3D, there was like no innovation in F-Zero, to my understanding. It was still good, like they still made really fun games, but they didn't know what to do with the series, and so that's kind of why they put it down. After, you know, having a GameCube game with a tie-in arcade game that you could unlock stuff with, that's it. So, but I'd like to see a new F-Zero game. Hell, even if they want to, like, bring F-Zero to a new franchise, just have Captain Falcon as, like, some sort of action hero, that would be neat. I think I would like that. I think a lot of other people would like that. I think it'd be just a very popular decision on Nintendo's end. So, you know, that's a possibility. A very slight one, but, you know, still a possibility. Let's see. Other things that they could kind of announce is... Gosh, what else could they announce? I'm actually kind of at a loss for what to guess at this point. I'm sure there's some series I'm forgetting. Splatoon, they're probably going to show off more of the DLC. I think that's very popular. And I think they know that. So, I think it's pretty likely. What else? There's not going to be any Pokemon. Pokemon usually does their own thing at the Pokemon Presents, so, you know, like that's been kind of shown time and time again. It's not going to happen. And honestly, I don't care. Because Scarlet and Violet was that disappointing to me. So, you know, I don't care what they're doing with Pokemon at the moment. Other remasters they could do like Earthbound, or they could do Tomodachi Life. Tomodachi Life would be a fun kind of port. If they did that like in the style of Miitopia, that'd be super cool. They've already got the Mii tools kind of created for that, so, you know, if they just kind of ported that on over, that would be very popular among fans. You know, adding the option for, like, you know, homosexual marriage and all that stuff. Super neat. Super neat idea. I think a lot of people would like it. And then they'd get called woke by the idiots. So, but, as for other stuff, we could get Punch-Out. Punch-Out hasn't had a release since Punch-Out on the Wii. Oh wait, I was gonna do something different here. Hold on. I have made a mistake. I need to tear down... not all of this, I just need to tear down a little bit. So we're gonna grab these. And I think, other stuff they could show off. They could do Rhythm Heaven. That's been a pretty dormant franchise on their part. They could do... Grezzo's got to be cooking something up, now that I think about it. Maybe the Zelda thing I mentioned earlier, that could be like a Grezzo title. It could be another 2D game remaster or remake. It could be... You know, what if they let Grezzo have a whole new 2D Zelda under their belt? I think a lot of people, myself included, would be very excited about that. So, you know, there's a lot of things Grezzo could be doing, and I think we're gonna see the fruits of their labor soon, because their last thing they released was, I guess if Tomodachi's happening, that would be Grezzo, because they did Miitopia as well. But it's going to be interesting to see what Grezzo does when they do it. But that's kind of all I have to really say about the Direct. So, yeah, not really sure what else to talk about. So I think I will probably end the stream here. Thanks everyone who kind of came in and watched or listened. Appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe and, you know, all that stuff. Help supports my channel. And I will see you next time.